guys, so it is Sunday and I've been documenting my drive. We decided to do a 20-minute drive to the neighboring town because a Dunkin' just opened up, and of course I'm a huge fan of Dunkin', and it was nutty. We just spent like almost an hour in there, and I ordered, you know, a creamy iced coffee, whatever, and I ended up getting this, which tastes terrible. So I don't know what they're doing there. So we're just out doing our grocery shopping, and I wanted to pop on here and tell you about our Sunday. So now we're on the hunt to go to a gas station to get my husband, you know, an energy drink. And I'm like, I'm just gonna get one of their, you know, iced coffees there that come in the bottles because it tastes better than whatever they just gave me. So anyway, I guess don't go to Dunkin' whenever it's like grand opening weekend. It was wild. They were out of chai as well. They were out of a lot of things. So anyway, I'll update you on my reading updates whenever I get home because I do have some for you. But just wanted to pop on and tell you about that. That was wild. What'd you think of it?
Crazy.
It was wild. All right, guys, I will update you whenever we get back to the apartment. We're going to go out grocery shopping and all that stuff. So heading back 20 minutes, you know, to the town that we live in and do our grocery shopping. So hope everyone's having a better Sunday than we are. How about a quick update? No gas stations have anything. But after the second or third one that we went to, we got me a nice Dunkin' coffee, which is better than whatever it is that they gave me. And my husband now is in Walmart getting himself something to drink because he likes energy drinks. And everywhere we went, they've only had like Monsters, and I guess he's not a Monster person. So everybody's looking at me like I'm weird. So I'm going to go ahead and go. We're heading back to Joplin. It's about 20 minutes away. And yeah, what a great Sunday. Hope everyone's having a better one. I know that I've already said that, but all right, I'm gonna go so people can quit looking at me weird. So it's a little bit later in Sunday, so we got back after doing the grocery shopping. Had what an experience at Dunkin' this morning. We're not going back for a while, and it's probably because it was opening weekend, possibly. That was just absolutely crazy. So we'll try it again maybe in a couple months when things die down. But as we were trying to leave Dunkin', the weirdest thing happened. They had the drive-thru that was all the way out to the street, and it started wrapping around. So whenever we went to go pull out, there was cars like in front of us. So I asked him, I was like, can I pull out, you know, and get going? And literally the girl in the passenger seat shook her head and said no. I was like, what do you mean I can't leave? I was like, well, do you think I'm trying to get in front of you? Like, it was just a wild experience. So there is that. I do have some reading updates for you, but I also had a little haul yesterday that came in the mail. I had a special edition set that came from Bookish Box, and then I also had four books that came in. 3 of them I purchased on Pango for a lot cheaper than I would have gotten them brand new, like at the bookstore, and they're in really good condition. So definitely check out Pango Books if you guys want to get any used books and things like that, especially if it's books that you don't know if you're going to love or that you do want to try, but you don't want to spend the $12, $15, $20 on the brand new book. Definitely try that. And speaking of Pango Books, I do have my Pango Books account linked below if there's any books on there that you would like to buy. There are some special editions. I'm going to be adding some more this week, so by the time you see this video, they've already been uploaded on there. I don't know if all of them or some of them are still available at that point, but you can definitely check my link below. I also have a sale going on right now on my bookstore where you get so much percentage off if you purchase so much more. So I do have that. Also, make sure that you like and subscribe down below, and so you don't miss any of my content. And also make sure that you hit my Patreon link that's in the description box. We're going to be having some sprints coming up later this month. The book club pick is The Coven by Harper L. Woods, which I've already read, but you can join in with that and then go in there and talk with us and kind of, just bounce your ideas off on what you thought of it, and then just continue to be a part of the book club picks. If you were in the top tier, you also get to pick what I'm going to read. So definitely come check us out over there. So let's get into the books that I got in the mail. So I did get the Kingdom of Runes set from Bookish Box by Audrey Gray. I don't even know in what order these are, but you have Curse Breaker, Light Singer, you have Oath Taker, and then you also have Kingmaker. And all of them have, the sprayed edges, and I'll just show you one of them. I think Oath Taker is the first one. So, of course, you have beautiful end pages, and, of course, they are signed by the author. And then you have a beautiful hardcover, but also you have a reversible dust jacket that you could put on there if you would like. So I'm not going to show you all 4 of the books, but they are absolutely stunning, especially whenever you get them all lined up. Whether you want to face them, with the sprayed edges or, with the spines, they're very stunning. So definitely got that set in the mail today, yesterday, which actually I purchased that set, I want to say it was earlier this year. So I think Bookish Box is starting to get caught up. Crossing fingers. I'm not sure. And then another book that I got in the mail was one that I traded for. I traded my Fairy Loot edition of Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies for this beautiful edition of Divine Rivals, which is from the Owl Crate box. So it's just a beautiful, stunning edition. It has, stenciled edges. And then the back is just absolutely gorgeous. It says, "I want your hand to be in mine no matter what comes." And beautiful end papers. It is signed and it has the letter from the author already bound in. And here is the naked hardcover. And then also you do have a reversible dust jacket, which I think is beautiful. However, I think this edition is stunning. I know everybody loves the Fairy Loot edition, which is still stunning. It's just a different rendition of, I think, the UK edition. But I think this was beautiful because, if you've read Divine Rivals, you know that it deals with, letters and stuff like that. So I just feel like this definitely shows you kind of what the book is about and the vibes. So beautiful. So I traded for it. I'm so happy to have this one because I ended up selling my Fairy Loot edition, or maybe I traded it for another special edition. Regardless, I don't have the Fairy Loot edition anymore. I really wanted this one, so I was on the hunt. And then the 3 books that I got from Pango Books from different people on there, which I don't know what hardly any of these are about, but I do know that I've been wanting to read them. I've been eyeing them for a while. And this one is Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. This gives me kind of some feels because I was reading about it, and it's kind of like, I don't know, kind of like a cozy romance is kind of the feel I have on it. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Then you have Mixed Signals by B.K. Borison, which if you saw my vlog 2 weeks ago, I think, I was in Books A Million and I ended up seeing this, but I ended up not purchasing it. It does still have the sticker on here, but I got this off of Pango Books. It's in really good condition. And I think I only paid $7 for this copy, and I think I paid $8 for this, whenever originally this is $16.99. So, like I said, guys, definitely check out Pango Books. And then the last one I got, because I've seen everybody talking about this book, and it is My Roommate is a Vampire. Also really good condition. I think this is the way that I understand a girl moves into an apartment building, and I don't know if it's her roommate or the person next door, but they're only awake at night, so she's fully convinced he's a vampire. I can't wait to read that. But this cover, I absolutely love this cover. So there is that. And then now let's get on to my book reading updates for this Sunday. So I'm still reading Morally Corrupt by Veronica Lancet. I haven't really made much of a dent in that over the weekend. Not that I haven't been wanting to read it, but just because I ended up putting on an audiobook, which is the next book that I am currently reading, because I've been doing some cleaning around the apartment, getting kind of back in the swing of things since my staycation is over, and I start working again tomorrow. So wish my staycation could happen forever, but nonetheless have to go to work. So I started an audiobook trying to get some cleaning and chores done around the apartment this weekend. And so I haven't read anything about Morally Corrupt. I know that it's still good. I'm very intrigued with it. It is kind of like a mafia dark romance, and it has this element of the wife is kind of like the assassin, the one that likes to kill, and then you have the husband who is more of like the good character, the one that like wants to do right in the world kind of thing. So it's kind of a reverse in what you're used to reading, because you're used to seeing about the bad guy with the good girl. Now you have the bad girl with the good guy, and I kind of like that concept. I've never really read very many mafia romances, and I think that I like them. I'm not sure. I'm still getting my toes wet with this book. The writing is good. It's keeping me intrigued in the story. I have been thinking about it all day, even though I've been listening to a different book. So that's pretty good. So hopefully tonight or tomorrow I'll get some more done on that. But the book that I started listening to on audio, I'm listening to it through Scribd, and that is The Thorns Remain by J.J.A. Harwood. Now, there's only 20 chapters in here, and I'm on chapter 12. So it sounds like it's going very fast, but it's not. I think my audio says I have about 4 hours left in the book, and originally it was 9.5 hours. So I've read like 5.5 hours worth of the book, which I read at like 1.6, 1.7 times speed. So it's actually normally like a 12 or 14 hour book. So, you know, I have quite a bit still left to go, but this is stunning. This is a Waterstones edition that I had bought, and I bought it on a whim. I didn't know what it was about. I bought it just straight off of purely the vibes, really. And I was like, it's a fae fantasy romance. Let's try it. But it is numbered. So I have number 30 of 500. So only 500 editions were made of this, which is actually pretty neat. I don't really think it has very many customizations other than it being signed and the stenciled edges, but there's that. So on The Thorns Remain, you are following our female main character, and this is back in like the early 1900s, and it's over in like kind of like the Highlands and like the Scottish Irish area. And they all like work on this like farm or like in this settlement or whatever, and finally the lord or laird of that area sent them a letter saying everyone gets to stay. So they're all pretty happy about that. They're all kind of like a family, even though they're not all like blood related, which is pretty neat. But whenever her and her friends end up going to the woods and doing like some dancing around a campfire and such, weird things start happening. And I do believe the female main character's name is Maura Jean, I believe. And so she starts seeing weird things start happening. And then all of a sudden, the next day that she wakes up, people are like in different, like Edinburgh and different places, and she's like, no, they're not. They were just here last night. So things are off. She goes back to the woods to kind of confirm for her own sanity that, you know, they really were there the night before, and she does see that. However, this creature / man appears, and the story kind of goes from there. He makes a deal with her that every time she gives him something, he'll return one of her friends, and then the friends get returned, and she's giving up things, but then their friendship, enemyship, whatever it is, starts growing. Now, I see where the romance is coming from. I see what the author's doing about it being a fae fantasy romance. However, I don't know if it's the writing, I don't know if it's the story, I don't know if it's a combination of everything. Things are moving quite slow for me in my writing style, or my reading style. I'm just not fully invested in the story. Like, it's whimsical and fairy tale like, and I feel like, you know, the characters are pretty well fleshed out. Like, I'm actually liking the community and the family around it. But the love interest, if it is going to be who I think it's going to be, I don't feel anything for it right now. But I still have like 4 hours of reading time left, so something may change, because I'm starting to see it. At the end of chapter 12, I'm starting to see like the change in the dynamic and the way that she's feeling and things. So I'm wondering how that's going to work. If I'm going to actually believe the relationship or not, we'll see. But I mean, it's not terrible. This is definitely quite a different read than what you would think a fantasy romance would be like. If you like more historical romance, if you like more mystery vibes and trying to unravel what is going on, and it being set in the early 1900s Highlands, you would absolutely love this story. You would absolutely eat it up. It's not normally my time era or whatever genre that I typically like my fantasy romance to be, so maybe that's why I'm a little struggling, but you may end up liking it. So we'll see whenever I finish it up. But that is my reading update that I have so far. It is Sunday. We are going to get something to eat. I'm just going to relax for the rest of the night, maybe listen to more of The Thorns Remain or read Morally Corrupt. I haven't really decided yet, but I hope everyone is having a better Sunday than mine started out with. I will either check in with you tomorrow or Tuesday, or whenever I have reading updates. Let's hope that it's not Wednesday or Thursday, because then that means I'm not getting any reading done and I might be grumpy. Who knows? But work starts tomorrow, so I don't know how much reading I'm actually going to get done tomorrow, because I'm probably going to be tired. But we'll see, everybody. But I'll see you guys when I got an update. Hey everyone, it is Tuesday. I am just getting settled in. I just got back from work for the day. I'm going to get some reading done tonight. I have some reading updates for you. So, update on Morally Corrupt. I actually am very close to finishing that. I'm still currently in the middle of reading it. I'm really enjoying it still. It's kind of gives me a feel of like a mafia romance, and you have this girl who is supposed to be like the bad girl, and she's like an assassin. She does like very morally questionable things. She kind of changes her personality, but also you find out things about their marriage, you find out things about the husband, you find out things about her as well. I really like the way that Veronica Lancet had made this story, because it isn't like a romance where, you know, the girl is a bad girl, but the guy falls for her kind of thing. It's about, you know, marriage and learning to either figure out to love someone for their faults and who they really are, or, you know, having to let them go. And that is one dynamic that is in this book that I absolutely love. So I will give you more further updates once I finish it, because I want to see how the story wraps up and how everything that we have learned so far, how it all kind of ties in with each other. So I'm going to just update you whenever that gets finished. However, I did finish The Thorns Remain by J.J.A. Harwood. I give this 2 stars. This book, I don't feel is a great story if you want a fantasy romance. It is hard to understand, and I'm sorry if you hear background noise. My husband just got back with walking the dog, so you'll probably hear that in the background. But this is a fae fantasy romance, and you would think that there would be, of course, a conflict, something that they're trying to resolve, or like enemies to lovers. But this story, like, is all over the place. You meet characters, but you don't feel for them. You don't even feel for the main character. You're being told that the fae actually loves the girl, but there's no sign of that. You get nothing of that. There's no showing. You're just told that. It's kind of odd. This story was just really bad. It wasn't fleshed out. You don't feel for any of the characters. You don't feel for the world or anything. Like, at many points in the book, I was just like, why am I continuing to read this? Why am I continuing to, go on? Because I just wasn't having a good time. And I was like, surely, something's going to happen. The fae's going to turn around and we're going to end up falling in love with him. Or, the love interest that, had died previously, for her. Maybe he was going to come back. There was just different things that I thought would happen, so I stuck it out, and at the very end, I was just like, are you serious? This is how it's ending? Like, I just wish I wouldn't have wasted my time with this. I wish I wouldn't have wasted the hours and all of that, and then, I have this gorgeous edition that I'm going to sell because I don't like this story. I'm never, ever going to read it again. So, if you like, what could I compare this to be honest with you? Because there is nothing that I've ever read that's like this. I don't know. Go on and read some non-spoilery reviews and see if you want to read this. But if you are kind of like me and agree with a lot of my ratings and how I feel about books, you're not going to like this. There's just no depth. There's no building. There's no nothing. You don't feel for any of the friendships or the love or anything. And, like, you literally hear about this guy who died, who she was with before, like, every other sentence. And it's like, okay, I can't. I understand there's a grieving process, but at the same time, like, I'm kind of done. Just kind of done. So I finished that up. I'm going to end up selling that. The honey brought me some coffee, so that's always great. All right. So anyway, that's The Thorn Remains. There's really not much I can tell you about it without spoiling it, and I don't want to spoil it for anybody because if you do want to read this, or it's been on your radar, or, you've read some non-spoilery reviews and you're like, yes, I do want to read this. I don't want to spoil that for you, but just know going in, it is not what it is advertised. It is not what you think. And be prepared to potentially bash your head against the book the whole time. So, beautiful edition, just, it's going bye-bye. And then the next update that I have for you is House of Beating Wings by Olivia Wildenstein. This is the Bookish Box edition that I have right here. The back of it is beautiful. This book is actually really, really good. I'm having an amazing time with it. I think I'm on chapter like 19 or 20 of it. So I'm still like fairly early on, but we've kind of established a little bit of the world and the characters that are involved. But basically, you're following Fallon, and Fallon is like a half fae, and they're looked down upon in their culture, because if you're not a pureling is what they're called in here, then you're like looked down upon. You're not going to get anywhere. You can't marry into like, a noble house or even royalty. So Fallon grew up going to school at this school for all purelings. And so she's there, and of course she's bullied. Everybody in the town, bullies her. All of these things happen, and she's friends with the prince. Now, the prince and her become really close friends. They kind of had, like some kissing scenes and everything whenever they were in high school that you kind of look back on. And then he's gone for like 4 years, and now we're into where she's like 22, I think. And so she is still kind of under her grandmother's thumb. And there was an event that happens, and I don't want to really give it away because it doesn't tell you that in the synopsis, so I don't want to tell you, but there is an event that happens at the very beginning of the book that happens whenever Fallon is 10 or 12, somewhere in that, age range, and it kind of affects her throughout the whole book as of so far. And it kind of alters everyone's perception of her, how they treat her. And so she's had to kind of overcome that. And I really love it. There's like this love triangle thing going on. She goes to see a seer, fortune teller, someone like that. And they tell her, if she frees the 5 iron crows, she'll become queen, I think. So she takes this as, if she goes and frees these 5 iron crows, she's going to marry the prince who will then become king. And that's where we're at the moment. She's trying to figure out what the iron crows are. And, the princess came back, so it's made this like love triangle thing go on. So that's where I'm at in the story. I'm really, really liking it. I will say that the first like 10 to 12 chapters of this book were very like all over the place. I mean, I know that we were establishing the world and, the characters and kind of like what is happening and what we're going to be doing going forward. But it was just very all over the place. Like, she would be having a conversation with one person, and then like the next person she was talking about something entirely different. So it was a little hard to stay kind of like in the story, and it was kind of hard to follow. But now that I'm, past that point, things have kind of calmed down a little bit. We have a very linear story, and I'm kind of liking that. So I'm going to see how it goes, but I am actually enjoying myself with this. So we're going to see how that goes. And then I also am currently reading an arc that I need. I'm a little behind on getting my review out for it, but it's called The Rebel King by Gina Maxwell. So I am currently reading that alongside House of Beating Wings and Morally Corrupt. I've got too much on my plate this week, but I'm loving it. So The Rebel King, the only thing that I can tell you about it, it has already been published. I was supposed to give my review back in July. I didn't for, some personal reasons because I had things going on. But basically it is the second book in, what is it called? Deviant Kings series. I think it's called Deviant Kings series. And the first book is The Dark King by Gina Maxwell, and you are following, a female main character who goes to Las Vegas. Yeah, she goes to Las Vegas, I believe, and then ends up running into the King of Vegas or whatever, and he's a fae, and so it's a fae urban fantasy romance, and I really like the take on it. I really liked the story and the way that the characters are, and he has 2 brothers, so of course the Rebel King is following one of the brothers, and then I don't know what the last one is going to be called, but it will follow the third and final brother. So I really like that they are considered like standalones. But there is like an overarching plot that goes from, the first book through to the second book. So I highly encourage anybody, if you want to read this series, definitely start with the first one, which is The Dark King. The Rebel King is really, really good. It is following one of the brothers that I didn't necessarily love in the first book, but you don't get a whole lot of his perspective. So whenever he was bouncing in and out of the story for Dark King, I just really didn't kind of latch on to him. But now that we are following him and seeing, like, you know, more of him and getting his inner monologue. I'm actually really starting to swoon for him. This is a wonderful, wonderful world. I think that the writing is great, the world building is great, and I love the fact that it is an urban fantasy romance, because you don't have a whole lot of those. A lot of times whenever you get a fae fantasy romance, it is always set either in the 1800s, like Highlands, Scotland area, or it's like a medieval-esque type story, kind of like how A Court of Thorns and Roses is. So I'm really happy with this urban fantasy romance. But if you also like urban fantasy romance, I do highly suggest, if you don't want a dark urban fantasy romance, which is what Rebel King and Dark King are, but you want something more lighthearted that's not so dark, Olivia Wildenstein, who I'm reading House of Beating Wings right now on, she wrote a book series, and it's called the Rowanwood Legends series, and the first book is called Rose Petal Graves. It is a fae fantasy romance, but it also dives into like Native American culture as well, so it ties that into the world. Beautiful story. The first 3 books in that series is the main trilogy, and then there are, I think, 2 spin-offs, potentially 3 spin-offs, but I know that there's 2 spin-offs that come after that you don't have to continue reading. You can stay with just the trilogy, but I highly suggest checking that out if you do like urban fantasy romances, especially whenever it brings in other cultures, like Native American culture. I really loved how she did that. I think House of Beating Wings has possibly some Gaelic, I think, culture in here. I might be wrong, but I think it's Gaelic. So I really like that she does that. So she's one of my favorite authors, so I'm pretty sure I'm going to love House of Beating Wings. Just, we started off on a very rocky starting there. I was just like, what is happening? But we smoothed out. We're good. So that is what all I have on the go right now. I will update you either tomorrow or Wednesday whenever I finish up one of these books, whether that be Rebel King, whether that be Morally Corrupt, or whether that be House of Beating Wings. I don't know what I'm going to read tonight. I don't know how much reading I'm going to get done tomorrow during the day at work, because we have a meeting that usually lasts most of the morning, and then I end up going to lunch, so I'll only have the afternoon. So I may not finish up House of Beating Wings tomorrow, but I am determined to finish up either Rebel King or Morally Corrupt, and I really hope it's Morally Corrupt, because I am dying to know how this ends. So that is my reading updates for everybody. I'm going to go ahead and go enjoy my coffee, get some reading done tonight, and then I will update you all in a day or 2. We'll see what I get read, how much I can get through this week, and then if I start reading anything else. I got a few more books still on my TBR for September, so I really need to start getting some reading done. Alright guys, well, I hope you have a great Tuesday evening, and I will see you when I check back in with you. Bye! Hello everyone, it's Saturday, and I haven't checked in with you in a few days, and there's been quite a lot of reading updates that I do need to talk to you about. So I don't remember where I left off. I think I already wrapped up The Thorns Remain, which was not a good book. It just wasn't. It wasn't my vibe. I don't feel like the writing was very well. I just don't feel like in all the book as a whole is worth the read because it's not well put together or fleshed out or anything. So those are my thoughts on there. I know that I've been reading House of Beating Wings by Olivia Wildenstein. I've been reading Morally Corrupt by Veronica Lancet, and also The Rebel King by Gina Maxwell. So let's get everything wrapped up today to end the vlog, since I did an update for the past couple of days. My husband's birthday is today. Today is Saturday, the 16th. And so you probably saw from the previous clips, we had family over, we had, a birthday party and everything for him. So we were just, getting things ready for that the past couple of days. And so now that things have wound down, I'm just going to go ahead in the vlog. I don't think I'm going to do much reading today, as it's his birthday, and I don't know what we're doing. I don't know if we're going to go out tonight. I don't know if we're just going to stay at home and play video games. I'm not quite sure. So let's just kind of wrap this up. So I did finish Morally Corrupt by Veronica Lancet. Gave this book a 4-star. At first, I didn't think I was actually going to like it, because you are following Bianca and Theo, and Bianca is like an assassin. You kind of get more of her story as we're going through the book, because she's had kind of a traumatic past. She doesn't feel emotions, but she feels stuff towards Theo. And then Theo, we find out, has a past that he's kept hidden as well. And just the story in itself was amazing. It did take me a little bit to get into the book, only because it was kind of like a mafia style romance, but not like fully mafia. It just gave that vibe. Because the mafia was kind of part of the story, but not like the main focal point, I guess. So you're just basically, it's kind of like a mystery a little bit, trying to figure out, who this guy is, how he ties into everything that's going on with Theo, who killed his parents, and so forth. So I gave it 4 stars. It was great. I do suggest, check trigger warnings, because even though I really don't have any trigger warnings and I really don't have things that I stray away from, this book is very dark. It is the Morally Questionable series, and there are very questionable things that do happen. There is cannibalism, there is talk of sexual assault, there is, oh my gosh, a slew of things. I was trying to think if I missed any of the bigger hitters, but for mainly, if it's a dark romance, you always need to check trigger warnings, because even if it's not on page, or even though the sexual assault may not actually happen, it will still trigger you, because, the act is starting, right? Like, even though, the girl defends him off or whatever, it still happens. So you just got to check those. But 4 stars, again, I absolutely loved it. I can't really tell you much about it without giving it away. If you like dark romance, if you like mafia romance, if you like just very questionable things happening in books, definitely pick it up. I think you'll like it. The next book that I finished up this week is The Rebel King by Gina Maxwell. Now, this is the second book in the Deviant Kings series, and I do believe that's what it's called. The first one was called The Dark King, that I did read. I actually just got that special edition of it from Bookish Box. I didn't even know they were doing that. I guess I forgot through all the announcements, because it was like February's box. But the Rebel King continues on with Tiernan, who is the brother of the male main character in The Dark King. And so we're following him, we're following his romance and all of these things, and him there in the night court type of thing. It's very urban fantasy. It is a fae fantasy romance. There are dark elements to the book, so again, check trigger warnings. It's not nearly as intense as Morally Corrupt, but definitely check trigger warnings nonetheless. There was a whole lot to this book. I can't wait for the third one. I can't remember what it's going to be called, but it's going to follow the third and final brother. This is a great story. I love the world building. I love that it's like in modern day Vegas type of thing. I like that each brother is going to get their own story, but you also see the brothers in the other books. So I really did like that, because you meet Tiernan in the first book, and he's not like a big prominent figure, but you get to know his personality a little bit. And so also the other brother you do as well. So I do suggest reading them in order. They are standalones, but you're not going to want to go out of order. So definitely pick up The Dark King. But The Rebel King, I gave 4 stars to. Hands down, second in the series. So good. I absolutely loved it. Tiernan grew on me quite a lot in this book. So I was pretty excited for that. And I'm actually really intrigued on how the third one is going to go for the brother, because things that happened in The Rebel King, I'm like, how are we going to have a third book, or what is the brother going to do? So I can't wait for that. So I did finish that, and I know that it's late because I did get the ARC copy of this, but I didn't read it whenever I was supposed to. So you know how life goes, guys. Just life goes that way. 4 stars. Like, again, I say, if you like dark fantasy romance, but not like super dark, but just some dark elements in there, if you love fae fantasy romances and you like some urban fantasy in there, this book is really going to be great for you. But I do suggest picking up The Dark King as well, because The Dark King introduces you to this entire world, and it is so, so good. So I'm very happy that Entangled Publishing had sent me The Dark King as an ARC that I didn't even know I was getting, and I opened up my mail last year, and I was like, what is this? And so I read it, and now I'm addicted to this series, and that's just how it goes, guys. I mean, you get ARCs all the time, and sometimes they fall flat, sometimes they, hit their mark and go above and beyond, where you are a devout fan now. So that's what happened on that. The next book that I did finish another book, guys. I can't believe, I think I finished 4 books this week. I almost finished a 5th book, and I couldn't believe that. But I did finish House of Beating Wings by Olivia Wildenstein. I give this book 4 stars as well. This has been an amazing reading week besides The Thorns Remain. This whole week has been great, but I don't know how much I told you. This is a kind of a recap, I'm sorry, but you are following our female main character, and she is half fae, half human, and basically she is told that if she frees the 5 Iron Crows, she will be queen, which she takes as she's going to marry, is his name Dante? Dante, who is the prince of this kingdom, because they grew up being friends. And she's always like kind of had a thing for Dante. Dante's kind of had a thing for her. So she's on this mission to free these 5 Iron Crows. And the whole story is a wild ride. Now, I will tell you, the writing in this book takes a little bit to get used to. I want to say about 20 to 30% in, I was like, Olivia, what are we doing here? Because everything was just so scatterbrained, and it was all over the place, to be honest with you. And I was like, can we just stick with one thing, please? Because you're trying to world build, and you're trying to build these characters' backstories, and whenever you are bouncing around from here, there, with all these different thoughts, it's hard to stay on track. But nonetheless, guys, we got on track. It just took off. Like the 30% mark, it took off, and I couldn't stop. I just couldn't stop myself. This book is so, so good. You go on this journey with her. You meet a cast of characters along the way. Dante is there. Her friends are there. Everybody's involved some way that she knows about this. And whenever the ending came, the things that we found out along the way about the kingdom, about the king, about the prince, about her, about the Sky Kingdom, just a lot of different things, really wowed me. I was like, goodness, this is actually a very unique story, and it has me hooked. And so I just kept going and kept going. And then at the end of it, my mouth was like on the floor at that point, because I was like, what is happening? And it was just so good. You guys, so good. So if you haven't read this, or if you're currently reading it and you're struggling to kind of get through it, push through. Push through to like the 30-40% mark. You'll know whenever it hits, and it just takes off, and you are like in the story. You're flipping through the pages. You can't get through it fast enough. The second book is House of Pounding Hearts, I believe. So I will be continuing on. I do believe it's on audio. So if I get done with my September TBR quicker than I anticipate, then I will be picking up the second book on audio, because I just need to know what happens. So Olivia Wildenstein, this is the second series that I have read from you, and I am just hooked. So I highly suggest pick this up, you guys. It is very good. And please let there be more spice in the second book. There was romance, but not spicy romance. So if you're not a girl that likes a lot of spice, the first book really didn't have really very much spice. It really didn't. So you might end up liking that. Now, I don't know how the second and third book are, so don't quote me on that. But the first book, there really wasn't much. It was very plot and character driven. So love it. The final book that I have started, but I haven't finished, I'm on like chapter 20, which I can't wait, you know, to finish this, because it's pretty neat. I'm trying to find the page because I did not mark it that well. So go me, right? I am on page 241, and there are like 370 pages. So that is Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. Now, this is an older series. This is a YA fantasy, I believe, because she is 17. Now, I don't know if the series goes on, if it does become like new adult. I'm not sure. However, I know this is a loved series by a lot of people, and it does have a lot of mixed reviews as well. You find people that love this series, and you find people that hate this series. I am now among the people right at this moment that love it. Now, I don't know how the rest of the series goes or how this is going to end, so we'll see if my thoughts change on that. But it's an older one. I hadn't read it, and so I'm just now getting on it because my number generator was like, you're going to read this book, and I said, okay. So basically, you're following our female main character. This is a dystopian world, and it's kind of like a fantasy-esque world because there's magic systems and different things like that, but it is in a dystopian setting. So you're following our female main character. She is a red blood, and there's red and silver blood. Silver bloods are like the nobles and the royals, like the elites of the elites. They're the ones that have like all of the magic, and they can control like fire and, you know, just all of these different things. And the red bloods are just normal humans. They don't have magic or anything, so they are kind of like the bottom of the totem pole. They live in like squalor and filth. They don't really make a whole lot of money. Most people end up, you know, like stealing or getting into crime because they don't, you know, have a way to make money for their family. So our female main character is a thief, and she does get caught stealing some money. And the guy that runs into her gives her like quite a bit of money, and she doesn't understand why, but then they part ways. Like the next day or a few days later, somewhere in there, she's approached and said that she needs to go to the palace and work, basically. And so she's like, okay. So she gets there or whatever, and I don't really want to spoil anything. But things take off. She finds out who her mystery gifter was, and then somehow she ends up being targeted by magic, and then she, like, does something, and of course, guess what? Our girl has magic, and guess what? She's not even really a red blood. So, there's that. And she's navigating these court politics, and she is betrothed to the second prince, and, you know, it's not that they don't like each other, but there's not really romance with them, right? They're just doing their duty. So I'm just kind of at the point where we're really kind of in the court intrigue at this point. We are navigating the political system. We are finding out evil people and who's good, and this rebellion is happening. So there's a whole lot going on, and I know that, like, within the next, like, 130 pages, 140 pages, this is going to be ending, and I will be starting the next book. Well, I won't be starting it right away because I still have 3 books on my TBR. But I do predict that I will be reading more of this because I am really intrigued. I wish that I would have read this a while back whenever I first got this series. I've had, I think, all the books for a few years now. I've just never read them. So here we go. Maybe I will continue on in October with the next one. I'm not sure because I do have where I want, like, some spooky-esque reads. I want to get in the fall vibe, the Halloween vibe. I mean, just all the vibes right now. So we'll see if I continue on, but I'm really, really loving it at this point. Please do not leave any spoilers in the comments because I don't know how this series goes. I don't know how it ends. You can let me know if you like it or don't like it, but there's that. So I will let you know in the next vlog how Red Queen ends for me, if I end up liking it, if I am going to be putting the second book on my TBR for October or November, because my busy season's coming up, you guys, and you're going to see, instead of me reading 5 books in a week, I'm going to struggle to even get 1 read. So it's going to get quite chaotic for about 7 weeks, but then things will go back to normal and I will be devouring books as quick as possible. So I can't wait for that, but this is going to end this week's vlog. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you loved the clips that I added in, and most of all, I want to just thank everybody who's here. We've hit 100 subscribers, and I want to thank each and every one of you from the bottom of my heart. I do want to grow my channel, and I want to just talk books and be surrounded by a community of people who love the same books that I do, and give me suggestions, join my Patreon, leave me comments. I would just, you know, love to keep you around. So 100 subscribers, I thank you all so much, and I hope that we get more people into our community that we all can just bond and meld with. But I hope everyone has a great weekend. I don't know if I'll start my vlog tomorrow, or if I'll start it on Monday, because like I said, it's the husband's birthday today. I feel like my voice is going out, so I'm going to go ahead and go. If I sound horrible, I am so sorry. But everyone have a great night, and I will see you in the next vlog. Bye!